Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of Dubai Stars. Today my guest is a proper star starting from Dubai and ended up to be in Australia. His life is full of a roller coaster and it ended up in a great success. I am here with Mr. Moustafa Hamawi.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you very
being
much
on
for
the
having
show.
me on your
We
show.
know we are blessed today and lucky to have you here because it's very hard to catch you in Dubai.
Thank you. I'm blessed that I could find the time.
So as a first question that I ask every guest on the show, how did you come to Dubai and why Dubai?
When I graduated uni in 2000, actually my dad got me a job offer in the distributor of Philips in Dubai, I remember. And he left the offer on the table back in home in Syria. And when I came, I saw it. I said, thank you, but I don't want to go there. I want to come to Dubai. Dubai back then was not known. I had come to visit an uncle of mine maybe 5 years before that, so before 2020. And I just had a feeling that there's something coming. And that's one thing I always feel I've been blessed with, is the opportunity to see through rather than see the outside. I could feel that there's something brewing. There was a sense of an opportunity coming. And when I came, it was still too early. 2000, I started my career as a telesales operator. I was getting paid to sell seats into an IT conference. It was for Network Associates, McAfee Antivirus. And I was being paid 25 dirhams an hour. And if I'm lucky, I do 4 to 6 hours a day, and that was it. It was an amazing time in my life because when you don't have much, you don't have much to worry for. So you really enjoy and live life. And as I progressed with that, I had an aspiration. I sat down with somebody and he put a list of 10 companies and on the front and 10 agencies as marketing and media agencies and advertising agencies. And he says, if you want to make it, you want to work for one of these companies. I kept that piece of paper in a shoebox. Back in the days, we store stuff in a shoebox. A year later, by coincidence, I pull it and I worked for the top agency on top of that, because that was Leo Burnett, and I used to work for handling the account of Nokia. So that was from the telesales operator. I took that just as I'll do what I have to do for now until I get into the multinational. It took me about a year. I got there, and from there things started kind of rolling. I moved from handling PR into also events, because Nokia was the main sponsor of majority of events back in the days. I got exposed into events, conferences, concerts, nightlife, everything. And I threw a birthday party. I used to have crazy parties back then, and I threw a birthday party and I had about 650 people. The capacity of the place was 450. That was the capacity.
Yeah.
The capacity of the place was 450. It was Tangerine back in the days, which eventually we also ended up acquiring in the group and turning into a club. But I thought if I could get 650 people into a party, I can do something for myself. So I quit. I quit after trying to propose the idea to my company to do a social media agency when it was not called social media at that time. I called it Chat Attack with the @ sign. And my director's response was, go back to your work. And I'm like, okay, if they don't believe in me, I'm sure I can do it. Went to investors, got some money from them. It was just minimal capital to start the agency. We started getting business, and I went from me and 4 people in 2004. By 2008, we were literally top 5 agencies in Dubai in the live communication space. I had about 45 employees and millions of dollars turnover. So that's kind of the first stage of my life into making it in Dubai.
That's big.
I don't know.
In a short period.
In a short period, it was the boom years of Dubai, and it was definitely a lot of achievement for somebody in his 20s that landed in Dubai and was being paid 25 dirhams an hour, was not even getting a job in a proper multinational. Into having my agency, that was a dream. And that being said, sometimes they say be careful what you wish for, because that same story of what I was wishing for started turning into a nightmare for me. My health was deteriorating. It was a lot of partying. It was a lot of work. So it was work hard, play hard. Daytime, you're doing events, really exhausting. And nighttime, we were doing nightlife events, modeling agency, clubs, promoting nights, things like that. And that lifestyle took a toll on me. And eventually, I just got fed up with all of that and bought a one-way ticket to India.
What year was that? Like, how old were you?
So by then, we started dismantling the operation after 2008. The business started getting tough with the crisis, 2008, 2009. By 2010, the business was no longer viable. We had to shut down. 45 employees meant a lot of salaries also. So that was a lot of liabilities that we had to make sure we keep running, and there was no hope of how long this is going to take. By 2010, we closed the business. I started doing some consulting for the government on major festivals and events like that. By 2012, I decided I just need to seek something bigger.
Like you felt all of that success and everything that you have accomplished.
Felt very empty.
Yeah.
It felt very empty. You feel, because the trick is when you don't have something, you think that's all you want in life. But the minute you have it, you can start asking yourself, is that really what I want or no? And a lot of times things are more glitz and glamour on the outside, but not as necessarily fulfilling on the inside. And that's the key word that I was missing. I was having everything that has a shine to it, but I was feeling empty on the inside.
It wasn't fulfilling. So
it wasn't fulfilling.
We can say this was the start of you finding your passion?
That was the start of me finding out that I didn't have a passion. That was actually the starting point of realizing that I did not have a passion.
So one-way ticket to India, no plans, nothing?
I had a big picture of, okay, I want to go to the mountains, I want to meditate, I want to do yoga, but I didn't have a clear plan.
Guide me from there. You landed in India.
I bought that one-way ticket. Well, what triggered me to actually do the India trip was getting into meditation in that year, and by 2012 I did Vipassana. Vipassana is 10 days of silent meditation. So I sat in silence for 10 days, 16 hours a day, no writing, no reading, no communications, nothing, no external. You get guided, but you close your eyes and you're by yourself. So basically you're with a group, you're not allowed to talk, even to the teacher. The only questions you ask is about the meditation technique, no philosophy, life, nothing. You just sit and close your eyes and meditate for 16 hours a day for 10 days. And in that moment I realized I don't know who I am. I was very good at knowing everybody around me, but I did not know the person I see in the mirror every morning. And that made me realize that I have to give myself some time with me, and that led me to buying the one-way ticket. I landed in Delhi, and I remembered a friend of mine said, if you like yoga, go to Rishikesh. So in Delhi airport, I said, when is the next plane to Rishikesh? They said, well, it's too late now in the morning. I found myself a hotel close to the airport, not very fancy at all, especially for the lifestyle I was living. And then I went to Rishikesh, and one thing led to the next. I found it very commercial, again, didn't really enjoy because it didn't give me what I was looking for. And I kept moving between towns in the Himalayas, so I'd move from one town to the next. And by coincidence, I met a Swami, or a guru, that had been meditating in caves for 13 years. So he'd been in silence by himself for 13 years. He had just come out a few years before I met him.
Okay. Yeah. And so I'm assuming being with that person maybe just gave you some...
Being with that person made me realize there was a few aha moments there, and one of the moments I was talking to him about life. He had a long beard, obviously, so he'd play with his beard, and I asked him life, purpose, things like that, and he goes, do you know what you are thirsty for? Because if you do not know what you are thirsty for, you cannot quench your thirst. And that was an aha moment for me, because I was like, I came looking for an answer, but I did not know what the question was in the first place, which is, I don't know what I'm looking for. I know I'm looking for something. And that's the status of most people out there. We know we're missing something, but we don't stop to ask what is actually missing. We just take it for granted that life has to be missing something. So I didn't have an answer back then. I continued my journey. Later on that journey, a few months later, in a different place in India, further south, I discovered I had a medical condition. I was blessed to get an opportunity to work on it naturally. It healed naturally. But I asked myself, if this was a cancer, God forbid, or if this was it, or I haven't discovered it, it will end up being a cancer in a few years. If this was it for me, and this was the last day of my life, what would I regret? And I started thinking, and I'm like, what I was missing is actually truly having a purpose and an impact. That was truly, do you know what you're thirsty for? And the answer for what am I thirsty for came in that moment, not when he asked me, but a few months later, where I'm like, if I was gonna die, what I'm thirsty for is knowing that I will leave an impact and a positive change in this world beyond my existence, because everything I've done before was momentarily, and by me gone, it's gone. So that I knew my thirst, but I didn't know how. I kept on going across India for a few months later. So I started in the Himalayas. I came out further south at the end of India, literally I went north to south. 2013, I went in 2012. 2013, I bought a one-way ticket back. I'm like, okay, I woke up one day, same day I decided India. I woke up one day, I'm like, okay, I'm done here. I don't know. I get a calling that my time is over here. So when I came back to Dubai, I got invited to deliver a talk at an event, maybe 300-400 people. It was a short talk, TEDx style. And my talk was titled Cavalli to Manali. So Cavalli was my earlier part in the nightlife, and Manali is the town where I met my guru in India. And it's pretty much what I just shared with you, but it was done in about 30 minutes, 20 minutes of a talk. So I was a lot more emotional, sharing the whole details. And a few months later, a random person sees me sitting in Media One Hotel working. He comes to me, he goes, hey, you're that speaker guy. I'm like, yeah. He goes, you did your talk about India. I'm like, yeah. He goes, you changed my life. And I was like, that's what I'm thirsty for. See, sometimes you don't know. I went seeking an answer. I got the question first. Then I got part of the answer, but I didn't know how. And then a few months later, I got that, and I started getting more of those. You changed my life every time I do one of these talks. So I'm decided that this is what I want to do. And I just quit whatever I was doing back then again, which is event consulting, because I needed to make ends meet when I came back. And it was challenging because I thought I have that story to share and I'm really there. And a lot of people think, oh, I've got something to help and the world is going to be there for you. I'm like, well, not many people care. I mean, there's a few people that say you changed my life, but everybody's going on with their business. And I'm like, oops, I bought a one-way ticket again in life by quitting on this, but I've got nothing else to work out. And there's something to be said about burning your bridges sometimes, because when you do that, you have to make it work. You don't have an escape option, and it's always the last 1%. You do your best at 99% and you come at the last 1% and quit. When you burn your bridges, you're never gonna quit and you will make that 1%.
Survival mode, that's it.
There's no other way. It's a sink or swim situation. It's not fun, but you become tenacious. You become, I'll make it no matter what. And I had decided that I'm not going back, and I had told even the previous client that I was working with, I said, this is the last contract I'll ever take. I'm not working for anybody anymore. I'm gonna make it work. And I started speaking. Through speaking, I started interviewing. Similar show like this, that was a great idea. I'm like, okay, I'm an MC on stage. I got invited to be MCing. Nobody would give me a chance to be a speaker because people are like, who are you? And literally, who's my agent now and my friend and one of my authors, back then in a polite way told me we only take global author speakers, and you know, in a way, I'm sorry, I can't take you. A few months later, I was being demanded by the audience on stage. So I believed in myself, I took a bet on myself, I kept fighting for it, and I started speaking, but then all the speakers I would speak to, they would go write a book. I mentioned to them the challenges I'm having to go write a book. Brian Tracy told me write a book, Fons Entrepreneurs told me write a book, Tony Buzan told me write a book, Marshall Goldsmith told me write a book. I'm like, listen, the teachers say write a book, write a book. I wasn't that good at writing that book because audiobooks, I love courses, but I hate sitting with a book in my hand. And I'm like, well, the best thing to do is do more of these interviews. I took all of these interviews, converted all of the interviews into an online, offline program, like a workshop. So what I would coach people. And then through that, I started also learning coaching with Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, become ranked globally as one of the top coaches in the world. And then started doing coaching, started getting speaking, started getting paid highly for speaking. So going from begging to be on stage, literally, like, please give me 2 minutes, I'll be an MC for free.
I'll prove myself. Yeah.
Just give me a chance to speak. Into right before the pandemic, I was charging $10,000 plus flights and accommodation for 1 hour on stage. It was a tough journey, but I knew I would get there. But what started happening from there is, that was after publishing the book, I took that program and I took that workshop and converted it to an online course, and then took that online course, transcribed it, and turned it into this book, To Live Passionately. And with this book, I started getting a lot more publicity, and this is when my rate started going above $1,000 into the $10,000 range and became global. And people started reaching out to me and saying, Moustafa, can you help us with our book? First person, second person, third person. I'm like, oh, actually there is a demand for transformational books, because the publishers that are available here don't have that purpose-driven mission where they want to help people spread their message. They're all about media buying or about advertising or about just typical publishing, magazine publishing. This is a specific niche. It requires me to be passionate and to have that purpose with everybody that we're getting. And next thing I know today, luckily we run one of the top publishers for transformational books. So that's how I went from that and had a few loops around my journey. So at sometimes I thought my success was reaching that peak that you mentioned, but that was nothing. It was meant only to prepare me for a huge failure, and that failure was meant for me to transform to the person, but I would have never been that person had I not gone through that downer. So I'd also say learn to appreciate everything, because the bad brings you good in it.
And that's exactly how I met you, because I've been struggling for a year and a half. I have the ideas, I already wrote few chapters, but just to make the proper structure of a book, like I couldn't find anyone who has the service. And whoever has written a book, he will tell you, my advice to you, just drop it. Don't go ahead with it. Don't do the book. It's not gonna give you any good. And then luckily I found you and you explained it to me how easy is the process with you, and I'm super happy, super excited.
I'm happy we're having and excited to help you share your message, because that's really what it's about. It's not about me as much as about the message of someone saying you changed my life, and that's the DNA of what we are about. It's about helping people help people change their lives. So for me, I might not resonate with everybody. I'm not everybody's taste. Some people like me, some people don't like me, and I'm not here to be liked or disliked. I couldn't care less on either. What I care about is, am I serving my purpose? And if that purpose and my message and my style resonates with some people, then those are my people. And in that, there are other people that also would need your message, because the message you're bringing about, getting into the investments, bringing other means of financial freedom, looking into life at a different way. And again, the same story of struggle is different to every person, and the experience is different to every person, and that's what makes me excited. Is when I know I get to work with you and with other people that are doing this to others to help them, that becomes a combined passionpreneur, which is what we are, is a passionpreneur organization collectively spreading that passion and purposeful living.
It's a tribe now.
It's a good tribe.
This tribe is about to hit the 100.
We're about to hit 100, yes.
100
Even during the pandemic, we doubled the business. So
tell me about the challenges that you've been facing since you started this business.
The challenges, man, very good question. Well, number one, it's not were the challenges, it's still the challenges, because you see, at the end of the day, this is a business, and I like to always remind people, in God we believe, but people take cash. Okay, so the reality is, yes, we have a purpose, we have a mission, but I don't believe in just going out and begging for money. I believe in adding value, and with that value, I take the money and we reinvest it back into a good cause. And a startup, I face every challenge that every startup faces. Is number one, acquiring clients. Number two, operating those clients. So sometimes you get the clients but you can't operate, and sometimes you have a great operation but you can't get clients, and it's always that up and down between both. So being able to keep the operation running in a way that we're, number one, being selective. So day by day we're getting more and more selective, because we want a hand-picked selection of passionpreneurs. And making sure our finish rate is very high. So 100% is almost impossible. There's nobody that finishes 100%, but we're over 90-95% completion rate with every author that comes to us, and that's a great number. So keeping that high while keeping the quality, while we have been consistently raising our prices quarter to quarter since we started, including in the pandemic. So we raise our prices 4 times a year, because we know we're adding value and we're underpriced, so we want to keep raising that price to make the money. And on the back end, we want to be at the same time being able to operate efficiently, build a system, minimize dependency on the people, and increase the dependency on the system. So we take the learnings, build a system, so even if people leave, the consistency in the system goes on. And that's a lot of dynamics that need to keep moving together, and that's all still in the short to mid-term. While in the long term, we're also building that thought leadership positioning. So we're producing content. I just finished writing my new book, which is about the guided author methodology that we use with the authors to help them write the books, so people can buy the book and do it by themselves. So there's a lot of short, mid, and long term to be balanced out without losing focus on the purpose. I think that's pretty much the challenge, but it's a fun challenge to have. It gets frustrating a lot of times. It's like any other business. You wake up in the morning and you're like, why? How difficult that is. But knowing that I'm on a purpose always replenishes my energy. Yes, I have my downers, but then I wake up and I remember somebody's waiting for help with a change in their life, and I'm going to be there for that.
Moustafa, thank you so much. I know that you have a flight to catch. You
Thank
need to
you.
prepare yourself, but I just want to ask you the last question
Please.
before we let you go. What have you done and you're still doing that your future you will thank you later on?
Wow, what have I done that I'm still doing that my future self will ask me about?
Well, thank you.
Oh, thank me. Sorry, yeah, well, I mean, you are to be asked at the end of your life about what you've done, but yes, thank me would be practically the fact that I stayed on purpose, because there were so many times that I was about to quit. So it gets tough. There are times when at the beginning of the journey, especially, I went to zero again. I was sleeping on the floor at a friend's place where all my friends are rocking it, financially at least, and you start doubting yourself when you do it. And that's why I said at the 99%, I was about to quit so many times. And it was an email that would have come to me, a random email, unsolicited, of someone who says, I just took your course, I cannot tell you what you've done to me. I've been lost, I've been whatever, or a random message or a random social media post, and it literally, that last 1%,
Let the fire in you again.
just bring that back again. And had I not done that, I would probably regret it. So I know when it's my time to kick the bucket and leave this planet, when I sit with my inner soul, I'd probably definitely be grateful that I didn't quit on my journey. And things like this, thank you for asking me that question, remind me to stay on purpose. We all, to be human is to err. We're all going to make errors, we're all going to fall down, we're all going to have the downers, but it's always to remind ourselves of our mission and purpose, and these things keep me alive.
And thank you for explaining like this much. I feel I want to write 10 books, not even one
Let's
book.
do it.
Moustafa, when I started with you, you gave me a publishing guide. I really hope that you don't mind that we can share it with our audience for anyone who feels there's an idea or a
Yeah, definitely. Look, anybody that would want to spread their message to the world, I'm happy to help them. So for that, we'll put a link that people can go put their email and download the publishing guide, and hopefully they can also become authors. And that's the point about Passionpreneurs. It's not exclusive. I want you to succeed, and I know you want your viewers to succeed. So happy to help with that, because I believe, and I would say to the camera, you got a message to share. The world is waiting for your book.
Moustafa is the guy for everyone who wishes to write a book, to spread his ideas. He can be very helpful with his organization. I'm gonna drop all of the credentials, the Instagram, the email address, and any way possible that anyone can reach Moustafa. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and see you on the next one.